Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. UFC 312 has just wrapped up, and for a card that a lot of people were dissing and had pretty low expectations for coming in, I think it delivered pretty well. Both the main and the co-main event, yes, both went to decision, but I think they were both really entertaining fights that answered a lot of questions respectively about both champions and where they are in the sport. Let's jump straight into that main event. Dricus Du Plessis, clean sweep Strickland in, like I said, a first fight that was very closely competitive. There was even talks of robbery. Like, a lot of people thought that Sean Strickland won that first fight, did enough to get 3 rounds. Regardless, we just saw the improvements coming in. Like, in the video I made talking about this fight before it happened, breaking it down, we talked about, their styles and how much room they have for improvement. Like, Sean Strickland comes out and fights the same way every single time. Behind that jab, good tape. And if he can't, rely on his offense starting to go downhill on you and outpacing you, like, he's a real rhythm fighter. If you don't let him get into that rhythm, which Dricus Du Plessis did not tonight. He did not let him get established at all. And you can just see how limiting Sean Strickland's style is because of it. Whereas Dricus Du Plessis, since their first meeting, has really, really improved. And that just showed through tonight, where, like I said, he really did not let Strickland get into the fight whatsoever. In that first contest, he let Strickland build an early lead. He did not let that happen tonight. Like, Dricus established his presence in there and did just such a good job of staying active. Like, never let Sean get going. Like I said, like, land a good shot, Sean would go to counter, and he would just, Dricus, even if he wasn't going or landing, he was just threatening with that counter after everything Sean was doing. So the activity, the body kicks, like Dricus adding those new wrinkles in with that question mark kick. We saw some really impressive things from Dricus tonight that we'd never seen, and especially in the measuring and the pacing. Like, I remember his fight with Brad Tavares, Darren Till. Like, this is a completely different guy now. Whereas Sean Strickland, I think he's sort of reached his upper limit and potential as to what that style is, and the sort of lengths it can take you. The kryptonite to a style like that is everything that Dricus Du Plessis brought tonight. Just never let him get going, like I said. Never let him establish that rhythm, and just continually punished him for it. The blitzes were working. Sean Strickland only ever goes back in that one straight line. And, just eventually runs out of space. So those blitzes were really working. And when Dricus started to find the range, he was really hurting Sean with a few of those strikes. Like, when he broke the nose, that was absolutely brutal. Sean Strickland, respect to you. That is so, so tough of you to just readjust the nose mid-fight and fight the rest of the rounds. Like, yeah, that's a pretty gangster thing to do, but you just saw the two different levels in there regardless. I think Dricus Du Plessis, like he spoke about in his post-fight interview, this guy, could be a top 3 pound for pound fighter in the world right now with what he's doing accomplishment-wise. And just how dominant he made this rematch look, like how much gap he put between himself and Strickland, is all great signs for a champion. Someone who has just really leveled up as champion, and I think will continue to level up. Like, his hunger for growth as a fighter is one of the things that makes him so special, and how damaging he is with those blitzes. Like, even if his style doesn't look so pretty, it is goddamn effective, and you have to give him credit. Like, the way he was able to just put a stop to everything Strickland was doing. Like, even the defense on the jab, the parries were really, really good tonight. So even like a little thing like that, finding an answer to something where Sean Strickland had so much success in their first contest. Yeah, I think Dricus in a rematch where the big questions coming in were the sort of adjustments both fighters were going to make. Dricus did a great job, came up with a great game plan, and is really evolving as a fighter, like we talked about. So I think the sky is the limit for him. It sets up massive fights in the future. Like the Chimaev one has to be next. Could you imagine if he gets past Chimaev and just stacks up to 205 and takes on Pereira? I think that could be one of the biggest fights in the UFC. Like, yes, you have to get past Chimaev, which is a massive task. I think he's still going to open as an underdog in that fight, but regardless, he is just proving to everyone that you really have to give him his respect because he just finds ways to win. And tonight he showed that he's able to fight with a bit more pacing, patience, which is just going to make him more dangerous going forward. And some of those strikes, like the spinning stuff he was landing, was super intelligent. And I like how he would hurt Strickland, but never go too reckless. Like he did a great job tonight of staying within himself, which has been one of his drawbacks in the past, rushing and getting too overzealous and making mistakes. So Dricus du Plessis is really leveling up, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does next. I think Strickland, it's a tough loss for him because as long as Dricus du Plessis is your champion, they're not going to put that fight back together. And like we said about Strickland's style, I think you've reached that top, the potential that can maximize at this level. So I'd love to see an Imavov rematch. I think that would be a great fight if Strickland is up for it. It's going to be tough to get up for a fight like that after being at this championship level again and falling just short. So yeah, it's a tough loss to take, as well, because Strickland believed he won the first fight, and this one, there's nothing to latch onto. It wasn't even close. And, it was interesting that Strickland started really slow, but I think that's just more du Plessis from the moment the bell rang, dictating the range, the pace, and just ruling the presence in that octagon. So really, really interesting main event. And like I said, I cannot wait to see where Dricus goes next because he is winning me over. Like, to see where the improvements are going, and just his self-belief and confidence, he's winning me over for sure. Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez. Zhang was disrespected big time coming into a fight like this in a spot where she's a proven champion, fought the best for years. Suarez, yes, she has a few good names on that resume and has looked very dominant, but how inconsistent she has been, and only having that one route to victory, for her to be so favorited on the odds was, really wild to me. And we saw that play out. She had a good first round. Weili gave up some time on the ground, but as the fight progressed, Weili just settled in and was looking beautiful. Like, the way she was finding that right hand, the strikes in the clinch, everything she was doing to put damage on Suarez as Suarez was tumbling in, looking for the takedown, was beautiful. Like, did you see Suarez's face at the end of the fight? She was black and blue, man. Like, Zhang Weili, even on the ground, in the spots where she was controlling, did such a good job of putting damage on Suarez. And that was the difference here. Like, you saw Suarez have that control time, go for the submission in the first round, but Weili was nasty in those positions, man. Her kicks on the feet, beautiful. That side kick was money, even going to the leg. But that right hand was so measured. She hurt Suarez multiple times. And once she was stuffing the takedowns of Suarez, once Suarez sort of just got a bit disheartened, the momentum just swung, and Weili showed that veteran capability, that experience, why she is a proven champion. So, for the odds to be this way, and for people talking about like Tatiana Suarez is going to come in and run through Zhang Weili, was absolutely wild. It's cool to see Zhang Weili just remind everyone why she is the best female fighter in the world right now. Like, what she's doing, how well-rounded she is, like her scrambling, she's just so well put together, and her decision-making has come such a long way in the octagon. Like, for someone who was controlled on the ground by Rose Namajunas a few years ago, what she showed tonight, the reverse side of that, was perfect. So like we talked about with Dricus, Zhang Weili is a champion who is continuing to evolve. And she's a very, very special fighter, especially on the female side. Like, a real once-in-a-generational talent. She's so exciting to watch for a female fighter, like I said, and answered a lot of questions tonight. Suarez, that's a real rough loss for someone who's been so inconsistent. She gets to that title level and it wasn't competitive really, bar that first round, Like she really, really fell short in a lot of moments tonight. And by the end of the fight, like I said, her face, it just all added up, She lost majority of the minutes of that fight. And Zhang Weili did a great job of putting damage on her right the way through. So fantastic performance by Zhang Weili, veteran performance. And this was domination. Like, in my honest opinion, for everything that was said coming into this matchup about what Zhang Weili was up against in the wrestling, she did a fantastic job and hopefully opened some eyes about her greatness because, like I said, she is a once-in-a-generation sort of fighter. The rest of the card was really entertaining. Like I said, the main card, not the most stacked in terms of name value coming in. Most people were saying lots of Aussies. But that Taliesin Teixeira guy, heavyweight, he's massive and ran through Tafa. Tafa, someone who is, yes, very one-dimensional, but got beat at his own game tonight, smoked on the feet. Someone else who got their nose broken tonight, that was bad. Jimmy Crute and Bellato go to absolute war. Jimmy Crute sort of let that one slip away from him, It looked really, really good in the first round, but the leg kicks just started to add up, and that was so brutal. By the end, I don't know how he was taking those and continue to walk. Jimmy Crute, someone who just needed a win. But, I think there was positives there. I think he looked better than he has before, not as reckless. I think, he was landing good strikes. I think there's just some things he needs to adjust. And I think getting back in there, he's had a long layoff, will really, really help him moving forward too. The prelims really delivered in terms of entertainment value and excitement. What did I tell you guys coming into this one? Jack Jenkins, Santos, great fight as long as it lasted. Santos, one of those shooter box guys, they're just so slippery on the ground. And his recovery after eating that head kick, getting dropped, was great. Like, so dangerous off his back. And I think this is a really, really big win for him. Submitting someone like Jack Jenkins, finishing him, someone who had a lot of momentum coming in their home crowd, It's a big, big win for Santos, who I'd like to see get a ranked opposition next because he's at that level 100%. Both of these guys are. Like I said, it was a very, very closely contested fight. But Santos' grappling, man, it was just the difference maker. Poirier and thickness, this one, the odds were very wide. I thought it was going to be closer, but Topuria sort of manhandled him. Thickness just looked hesitant, tentative, very jittery. And the 6, 7, 8 strikes he would land would just get blown out of the water by Topuria's one. Like, that suplex in itself was nasty. Alexandre Topuria, someone who had, big pressure coming in. Both of these guys did for the storyline that surrounded this fight for 2 UFC newcomers. A lot of pressure, like I said. Topuria, someone who, not very active, but thickness just didn't have any sting on those strikes to have a lasting impression in the judge's mind. Because Topuria, although he had really, really good moments when he went, like, it was quite few and far between. And he was hunting thickness, yes, but if you have someone who has a bit more sting in their strikes and can land on the back foot a bit better than thickness can, yeah, I don't know. Like, Topuria had a good debut, but I can see some holes and some things you could exploit, especially over 15 minutes, Like, the guy has finishing instincts 100%, powerful hands, and looked like really, really good grappling. But like I said, a bit few and far between. Maybe that's just the UFC debut jitters. That's a real thing. Really looking forward to seeing who he gets next and whether they're going to fast track someone like this. Because like I said, based on that last name, you could fast track someone like that. I can at least see them doing it because there's going to be a lot of fan hype just based on that last name and the potentiality. He fights very similar to Topuria in the stance, the style, but just a bit more grappling heavy, I think. So, yeah, good debut. Gets that first one out of the way. I thought it was a good fight in general. I thought both of these guys, thickness coming in on short notice. He looks a bit green for the UFC, I think, still, but made a good account of himself. Didn't get finished off or anything, and really, really stuck in there and tried to win to the end. So, yeah, can't hang his head on a performance like that. Quillan Salkeld, UFC debut. It does not get better than that. Give that guy 50K immediately. People are talking about an early stoppage, and I hate that that is the main talking point coming out of a fight like this, because Quillan Salkeld, he's just going to fight until the ref pulls him off. You know, he feinted that beautiful jab to the body, came over the top with that two clean, caught Jubilee and sacked him, like dropped him like a sack of potatoes. Watching that live, I thought that was a great stoppage. On the rewatch, you know, you could have probably let it play out for another 5-10 seconds, but man, like, don't complain if you're going to get dropped like that in the first place. Like, that one looked bad. You hit your head on the ground. It was a bad drop. And I can only imagine the referee seeing that in real time. Like, he looks starched. So I have no complaints about the stoppage. And like I said, what a debut. Quillan Salkeld, a prospect, an Aussie prospect I've been very high on for a long time now, gets that UFC debut out of the way and does it in more than impressive fashion. Like, that was a beautiful, beautiful debut. We talk about gathering hype. Like, what a one to add to the highlight reel. What a shot. And talk about confidence coming in. Smoked that. It was so cool to see. And I cannot wait to see who they give him next. Because in a killer's row of the lightweight division, I just think Quillan Salkeld is going to fit in perfectly. Like I said, lots of Aussies coming in, breaking in, having really, really good performances and making a name for themselves. Let me know what you guys thought about the card. I can guarantee you it was a lot better to watch than you assumed going in. But like I said, I would love to hear your thoughts regardless. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I greatly appreciate it. And we will chat soon.